In November of 2012, the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Canada, launched a campaign to help inform students about sexual assault. Entitled the Don't Be That Guy campaign, it attempted to decrease sexual violence with messages like this. The campaign spawned identical efforts in many other cities, with the Globe and Mail of January 21st, 2012 reporting it was celebrated as a huge success, resulting in sexual violence in Vancouver decreasing by 10% in 2011. The campaign was so successful it was reissued in 2012. The Huffington Post, July 13th, 2013 explains a men's rights group, Men's Rights Edmonton, took notice and launched their own counter-campaign under the title, Don't Be That Girl, using phrases like, just because you regret your life choices doesn't mean it's rape. Using similar slogans and images, Men's Rights Edmonton's goal is to end what they call false allegations of rape. Given that Reece Ristau, the chairman of the University of Alberta's Department of Women's and Gender Studies, said on July 9th, 2013 in the Edmonton Journal that Men's Rights Edmonton transformed an anti-sexual assault ad into a rape apologist campaign, we must ask the question, how does the positioning of a dominant group as victims alter social understandings of rape culture? To answer this, we return to Bart Kammerer's article, Jamming the Political, Beyond Counter-Hegemonic Practices, published in Continuum, the Journal of Media and Cultural Studies. Kammerer's article is appropriate for our analysis because it demonstrates how activists reappropriate symbols to disrupt the consumption of ideas or products. We will first examine Kammerer's article, then apply it to the Don't Be That Girl campaign, before finally we can understand critical implications. In Kammerer's article, he discusses effective culture jams, which are social movements intended to disrupt or subvert media culture and purport to expose methods of domination in society. He outlines 3 tenets campaigns must meet in order to effectively culture jam: utilizing bricolage, equalizing social hierarchy, and creating a dialogue. First, the jam must utilize bricolage. Bricolage is defined as the creation of objects with materials at hand or reusing existing artifacts. To create bricolage, the jam must borrow from the campaign or message it is attempting to challenge. By utilizing a parallel format, the original message can be clearly identified and challenged. MIT student Jonah Peretti attempted this in his 2001 campaign against Nike. Nike was offering its customers the chance to print a custom word or logo on their shoes, and Peretti ordered a pair with the word sweatshop on them, which Nike rejected. By using Nike's own shoes to condemn the company's practices, his message made a stronger, more memorable impact. Second, the jam must equalize social hierarchy. The campaign needs to establish connections between dominant groups and the less powerful in order to show them as equals. In Nike's case, Peretti placed the word sweatshop directly next to Nike's swoosh symbol. In doing so, he attempted to place the exploited sweatshop workers on the same level as the corporation that the swoosh represented. By giving a voice to those abused by Nike, the hierarchy was equalized. Finally, the jam must create a dialogue between the dominant discourse and the oppressed. The culture jam must offer a dissenting voice, opposing what is dominant in the mind of the public. In the case against Nike, Peretti directly challenged Nike's image as one of the best sports outfitters of the time. He posted his correspondence with the company online, where it went viral. By using the internet to show the dialogue created, Peretti could better challenge Nike's dominant message. Now that we've examined Kammerer's article, we can apply it to the Don't Be That Girl campaign. First, the jam must utilize bricolage. The Don't Be That Girl campaign uses bricolage because it borrows directly from the original Don't Be That Guy campaign. Posters like these were designed with the same formatting, coloring, and to be almost identical to one another. The Independent, July 11th, 2013, explains that Men's Rights Edmonton used the style of the original to portray a completely different message, and by simply exchanging the word guy for girl, it's clear that their intent was to respond to the original campaign, and thus they fulfill our first tenet. Second, the jam must equalize social hierarchy. Men's Rights Edmonton does this by trying to equate an accusation of rape with actual rape. One of the group's posters claims, women who drink are not responsible for their actions, especially when sex is involved. Men's Rights Edmonton attempts, through mockery, to place women who drink on the same level as rapists. The National Post of Canada, July 10, 2013, quotes an Edmonton police officer as saying belittling rape crimes discourages victims from coming forward, with the men trying to bring women down to the level of male sex offenders. They fulfill our second tenet. Finally, the JM must create a dialogue between the dominant discourse and the oppressed. On each poster in the original Don't Be That Guy campaign are phrases like sex without consent equals sexual assault. However, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation of July 10, 2013 explains that Men's Rights responded using phrases like lying about consent equals a crime. Another of the group's posters claims, just because you regret a one-night stand doesn't mean it wasn't consensual. Perceiving themselves as the real victims, Men's Rights Edmonton challenges the notion that rape is a violent and all too common crime perpetrated against women. And thus they fulfill our final tenet. Now that we've examined Cameron's article and have applied it to the Don't Be That Girl campaign, we can return to our research question. How does the positioning of a dominant group as victims alter social understandings of rape culture? Through the co-opting of victimage rhetoric, dominant groups are further insulated from guilt and responsibility. Further expanded through two implications. First, on a social level, the Don't Be That Girl campaign is another example of Western culture's difficulty with acknowledging that rape is a crime and empathizing with those who are subjected to it. From high school students in Steubenville, Ohio, to college students in Edmonton, Alberta, being raped is still too often considered the fault of the victim. In her article, The Politics of Empathy, Social Movements and Repertoires, published in Sociological Focus on November 19, 2012, author Jennifer Dunn states that in order to be perceived as deserving of protection and justice, those who are raped must be framed in a way to show that they did not cause their own victimization. The men who created the Don't Be That Girl campaign looked at the original, and instead of understanding its necessary message to stop rampant sexual assault, focused its impact instead on themselves. The current discourse gives attention, whether positive or negative, to the rapists, and overshadows those most affected. Those who survive, those that are killed by their attacker, and those who, through the emotional struggle from what occurred, take their own lives. Second, on a methodological level, culture jamming is a powerful tool for the oppressed, as it sheds light on the contours of injustice by challenging dominant discourses. However, traditional culture jamming techniques are typically seen as a tactic used by minorities to upset social hierarchies. However, in the case of the Don't Be That Girl campaign, we have a dominant group, heterosexual men, using the strategies of culture jamming to solidify privilege. This inversion in the culture jamming dynamic forces us to consider ways in which dominant groups can seize the rhetoric of the oppressed to counteract criticism. Future research could explore this existence of an inversion in the culture jamming dynamic that occurs when those oppressors use culture jamming against the oppressed. Today, we examined Bart Cameron's article, applied it to the dialogue between the two sexual assault campaigns, and drew critical implications. Men's Rights Edmonton attempted culture jamming, but ultimately trivialized a legitimate campaign, and in the process, trivialized the suffering of countless survivors.